Good, good. Morning, everyone. This is episode 178. Yes, Shadow of Revan is live. Yes, we should be leveling, like many of you probably are right now.
Yeah.
But we're going to take time out from our leveling experience. Some of us have got too many 55s. But anyway, all right. We're not going to beat around the bush. Charlie, you said you were recording. Red is recording. Chill is recording.
Yep.
Yes, I am recording.
Yep. Then we are good to go. Let's make this happen.
Okay. Going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you. This is episode 178, being recorded on Wednesday, December 3rd, 2014. I'm your host, Chill, along with our producer, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey, guys.
And with us today are Charlie and Red. And Charlie, how are things going on the YouTubes?
Well, apparently there was this expansion that's come out for Star Wars: The Old Republic. I mean, it's just apparently it's been everywhere. I must have missed it. No, but anyway, yeah, actually quite a lot. Obviously, you got Shadow Revan that's just come out. But before I get into that, I have completed on my channel the Imperial Agent for Chapter 1.
Nice.
And the ending of Chapter 1 was brilliant. I loved it so much. It was a very nice surprise. Not going to spoil it, obviously. But apparently, a couple of people have mentioned to me that I've chosen the wrong choice. Because apparently apparently the Imperial Agent, there's so much variety to the story compared to other class stories. And apparently I went down the wrong path. And I fear that might have affected my whole playthrough. I'm hoping the playthrough might still be good, but we'll see if that's the case. I also completed the Trooper in Chapter 1. Very average, really. The problem with the Trooper, and I said this in my video as well, is that with Chapter 1, you had to, do this, then do this, then do this, and then it kind of felt like, oh, well, you're done. That's it. Okay, go have a rest now, and we're back with Chapter 2. It didn't really lead on with anything. So that was a bit of a disappointment. Hopefully it improves. Apparently Chapter 2 improves. Chapter 3, again, a meh. But we'll see if I actually enjoy it when I come back to it in January. Now, one flashpoint I've never, ever, ever done in the 3 years I've been playing Star Wars: The Old Republic until now is the Lost Island, because it's always been hard to try and get a group, and I've always been told it is one of the hardest flashpoints of the game, and I did it, and it didn't feel like it was that difficult, to be honest. I mean, there was there was that boss in the middle where you had to go to the there's those 3 button things you have to push.
Buttons, yeah.
And
you have to be really close to them or you get knocked off.
Yeah. And it didn't feel that difficult. We were doing it hard mode. Maybe it's because we were probably all over geared. I don't know.
Yeah. They've also nerfed it a few times since it came out.
Yeah, possibly could be the reason as well. I mean, it just seemed too easy for me, and all that fuss over it, and just felt very underwhelming. Anyway, with Shadow of Revan, for me, when I'm playing Shadow of Revan, I do it via video, so I can't actually continue playing the story unless I'm doing it in the video. But unfortunately, I've managed to complete 3/4 of Rishi.
Nice.
So I'm going to the last area now. I'm really enjoying it, but I do have a few gripes with the expansion, which I'll come to in a minute. I did do the Blood Hunt flashpoint. I decided to do it in solo mode because I thought I'd just give it a shot, and I can't believe how much I actually enjoyed doing it in solo mode. I think I might have enjoyed it more than doing flashpoints in a group. Am I the only one who thinks that? Have any of you done it in solo mode?
It's the only way to really do it. You can do it as a group as part of the story, but you may as well do it in solo mode, because that's the way, and it's the only opportunity you'll get to do it in solo mode. But yes, it's the GSI droid, otherwise known as the Jesus droid.
It was
basically.
And honestly, just like Church, I was falling asleep while he was doing all the work.
Really? He does make it too easy. Yes.
So way too. I was like, the cutscenes were great, and that would wake me up. But in between, I was having trouble staying awake. I had to
actually get up. I was streaming. I had to get up and walk my dog afterwards because I couldn't focus.
There was a few moments when I was doing the solo mode and my droid. There's I don't really want to spoil it. But there's a moment in the flashpoint where you think your droid is in so much danger because it's getting battered by some flames.
Mhm.
I thought, oh no, my droid's gonna die. I'm gonna have to do this fight all over again. It survived. I have no idea how. It just kept taking the beating and it just kept surviving. And I'm amazed how much it heals you. I get to like 5% health and it practically heals you full health.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy.
So yeah, if you want to do a flashpoint easily, you do it in solo mode. The couple of gripes I have with Shadow of Revan is why don't the side missions have cutscenes? That's really disappointing because I always the cutscenes for side missions, even though they didn't really affect the story too much, it was always nice to see another character, a small character's role in the world of Star Wars, and the fact that they've taken that out has just kind of ruined it a little bit for me, but I guess I'll get over it eventually. The other gripe is, why is it that the Republic and the Empire share the exact same quest? That's what somebody told me in the comments on one of my videos, but I'm not entirely sure if it's the exact same story to those quests.
It's the exact same story to those quests. Yes.
Why?
Because we're dealing with a neutral third party, in essence, so that's why. And those quest givers without the cutscenes, they're called ambient quest givers. That was the term used. And it's a way of focusing all of the cinematic storytelling on the actual primary story.
Exactly.
So all the side stuff we do, which is essentially filler, or reputation dailies, or whatever, is just simply a bit of text. I agree the cutscenes were good for some things, but you really can overdo it. This is far more cost effective for BioWare. So
I
perfectly happy with it.
appreciate this a lot too because you'll start, Charlie. You're at the point now where the story's about to start getting good.
Okay.
Because I've gotten all the way up, I think, to the final mission at this stage, and it just
Of Rishi or the
Yavin
oh, sorry.
Nice.
So, and it just keeps building and building and building. The storytelling is great. They definitely, for the primary story arc, the cinematics, there are a lot more of them. Like, if this is how they're going to be doing storytelling going forward by sacrificing a little bit on the side quests, I'm actually okay with that because it's quite good.
Should also mention that cinematic storytelling, the cutscenes are actually a lot better now. They've done some really nice stuff with moving cameras and
Noticed that.
Yeah, I do
stuff.
like that.
Mhm.
And also the audio seems a bit tighter. Sometimes there are these awkward pauses between actors actually talking where they didn't actually marry everything together properly, and it's all been cleaned up. So their cutscenes are excellent. So if they were able to, as Brett said, just focus more on the key stuff and not have to do a cutscene for everything.
Did you notice they even changed how their cinematics are actually occurring? So they actually have some panning from side to side and some zooming in and out on some of the
Yeah,
cutscenes.
That's what I just said. Yes.
Yeah, like those kinds of details.
You literally just said it. Yes.
Sorry, I was paying attention to the chat room, but those are the details that, like, if they continue to improve on that, and obviously the graphics are much better, and some of the characters, like, just have much more, obviously with all of the additions of the expressions and emotes and stuff that they're putting on the cartel market and yada yada yada, they're incorporating those into the storytelling as well. It's just much more engaging.
Yeah.
And even some of the moves that they do, fight moves and the cinematics and stuff, it's not stuff you're used to seeing in the storytelling. So.
There's one other thing, one quest which really had me a bit annoyed was the one with the cryo droid, because there were so many people when I was doing the cryo droid all trying to get this one droid, and we could not figure out what we were doing, even though I think we might have been told in the cutscene. I don't think any of us paid attention to what we had to do. Eventually, because
No, you're
what
supposed
you have
to figure it out. You're literally supposed to figure it out.
eventually we
puzzle
figured it out, but because what you have to do, you have to try and shock the droid, and we did that, but it wouldn't activate until we got to until we did it again, where it eventually did activate. But I don't know.
You got
what
to do it just before the droid gets to the thing that you have to click on.
We did, but for some reason it still didn't do it until we got it to the second one. So I don't know what was going on there, but that was a bit annoying. Like there was literally about 10 of us just trying to figure this out.
Of course, the other thing on Rishi is the quest with the meat that you have to stick on the stick.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it broke in many, many instances of Rishi, so you had to find one on which it worked. So rather than searching around, our advice would be just move on. It's just one
It's
little
just one
mission.
quest.
Just
Yeah.
move
Yeah, I
on.
encountered all of
Can
that
always
in my
do it
videos.
later after they fix it.
One final thing as well. On my actual Sith Warrior Season 4 video, Episode 1, I am actually doing a competition where one person who comments in my video and subscribes to my channel can win either the expansion or 2,400 cartel coins, depending on which one they would want, because some people might already have the expansion, or some people just might want the cartel coins. So I'll leave a link in the show notes if you actually want to go to that video and post a comment and subscribe, and you might win by Tuesday, because that's when I'll close competition, when the expansion officially releases. And in regards to the cartel pack opening video, that will be coming. Obviously, I've got to do the intro, hopefully with you guys in there as well inside the intro. But with this pack opening video, there is a very, very nice prize, because I always give away cartel packs in the pack opening video, and this time it is not one you're going to want to miss.
All right,
Okay.
awesome. Well, I always love those videos, so I can't wait to see it, just to see you open them up.
Just a quick tip from the chat room from our good mate Suki. He says, with that cryo droid, if someone's already stopped it, you can talk to it. So you don't have to wait for it to come around again. So that's a good tip.
That is
And
nice.
for the imp lovers, I finally learned what Scotia means. How do you kill Scotia? I had no idea what that was. Had to have somebody explicitly explain it to me. But apparently the cryo droid equals the new Scotia. So.
All right. Red, how about your week?
Well, so before the expansion launched, and around the Thanksgiving holiday, because man, did that get in the way of my goals for the week. I was able to finish my 10 games in ranked, thank goodness. I was also at the very last day, on Monday, I was able to finally finish getting my 16th AC done. So I finished my mercenary Monday. It was actually Tuesday morning at 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern that I finished it.
Nice.
But I was able to do it, which is great. And I actually have
That
to
is
give
awesome.
a special thanks out to Riss and Bacon and Spencer and Heather, all of which helped me on the last two classes to finish the leveling process. It was quite an ordeal having to really crush it, but I was pretty happy to pull that off. So, including characters I have on other servers, that would be 1955s. And as my streaming chat room loves to remind me, I've got like 3 or 4 of them in there that have got like 22 55s. So I'm nothing special, but I got my goals done.
That is nice.
Oh, and actually the greatest part was, in order to finish, I needed to get some stuff done on McKeb, and I was trying to get people into my group on McKeb to bring them around, and then just randomly for both McKeb, and then I realized the last quest I was going to have to do on McKeb is that one that has you running around to every little spot and doing the exact same thing like 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
My least favorite zone in McKeb for the storyline. Instead of doing that, I decided to go to CZ198. Well, I was actually able to finish multiple portions of those just by inviting somebody that I saw nearby, and they were kind enough. On the Bastion, people are just hitting accept, and we were charging through, so that also helped to speed up the process a little bit.
That's cool. Yeah, that's right, because if it's not, sometimes they'll make you go to one particular one, and you have to finish that one, and then you go to the next one. But then, yeah, there's that one where all 3 of them are lit up at the same time. You can do them in any order, so... That
Exactly.
makes sense. You just hook up with someone else and each of you do one, basically. That's nice.
And of course, I did a lot of streaming again, and I enjoyed that. But I did also get to kind of sneak in and watch your stream, Chill, and I was enjoying what you were doing. You seemed to be getting a lot better at that. So.
What was? Do you remember what I was doing at that point?
You were doing Oricon dailies, I think, or maybe the quest line or something.
Right, I did that on my Sentinel to try to get her better gear, basically.
Yeah. So, otherwise, I did want to recall back, I know that last week somebody submitted a tip about the fact that the Killing Blows decorations from PvP existed. I could not find them anywhere in my achievements to manually pull them down, so I don't know if I'm doing it wrong. I didn't spend a whole lot of time because I was focused, but couldn't find those. Not sure what that's about, unless it's something because I hadn't achieved the highest value for the Killing Blow achievements and it just doesn't show it as a reward. Maybe it just pops up after you earn it. But
Maybe.
otherwise, yeah, 3.0. Rise is, well, first of all, my poll results came in. It was really, really close up until I broke about 150 votes, and finally the Commando and the Merc pulled ahead, and they stayed ahead. So I will be maining Commando Mercenary,
All right.
at least for the beginning. And as a result, Healing Swotor actually mentioned to me, that's Healing Swotor on Twitter, and he's also got a podcast, all just 100% dedicated to healing. We've mentioned it before.
Yes.
He mentioned that he thinks that 3.0 is Rise of the Merc Mando Healer.
Really?
So I'm really hoping that's true because I'm definitely going healer.
Because you're healing and you're on those characters. That makes sense.
Exactly. Using... Oh, and in order to do the leveling and everything, I have been using my Vanguard Power Tech DPS gear sets that I have. I actually did have... I had turned in tons of comms a while back to get a good PvE set, and the item values were higher than the PvP set that I had, so that's what I've been using to level. And my only post note, because I don't think I have anything negative to say about this with the 3.0 launch. Oh, also I was completely blessed, did not run into any of the server problems that some people were having. But yeah, leveling for this expansion is way too easy. Like, mind-numbing brain dead. I'd like to have a little bit of a challenge, but when, golds are dying before I can even get through my priority ability list to me and my companion, that's actually kind of dull. I feel like they've really dumbed down leveling, which is cool because I'm really, really, really enjoying the story, but it is supposed to be a game too, and I feel like this is, you know how sometimes
what gear level were you at?
162.
Okay, so just what you would get from
comms
in preparation, basically. Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, I just feel like, you know how you can get a game, you play an RPG or whatever, a first-person shooter, and you're doing the campaign story mode, right? You can do like the easy mode, the normal mode, the hard mode, the murder mode, whatever. I feel like we're stuck on easy mode, and I'd really like to turn it up to at least hard.
Right.
But that's my only complaint, and I'm sure we'll be covering more details in the future. But yeah, love the expansion so far.
All right. Awesome. Tio, how about your week?
Quick shout out to Shield, who whispered me on the Harbinger. So, g'day, mate, as it were. So, what I was doing prior to the expansion going live was leveling. Well, actually, no, I was going through the class story on my Sork. Because, again, I wanted to get Act 3 completed, so he'd probably be my second character I'd take through the expansion. And I got all the way through, didn't quite get it done, just shy of Corellia. What slowed me down was leveling all my crew skills, because he was coming from pretty much zero, archaeology, scavenging, and bioanalysis, because I want him to be able to get all the things. When you get to Rishi and Yavin 4, you will see just how many gathering nodes there are. It is ridiculous, particularly on Yavin 4.
Okay.
So anyway, once the X-Pack went live, that was yesterday, I guess. Played all day in our guild. Suki was the first one to get a level 60 on our imp side. I was next. I was playing my Guardian, because that will be a raiding character, so I got him to 60, and on the pub side, and then Ari got the third shortly thereafter. So
Nice.
360 so far, no doubt there are more today as more people get the time to play. So yeah, all kinds of issues with that in terms of getting enough XP. But just to give you a rough idea, I hadn't done the Forge Alliance's story arc, so I did all of those solo mode. That got me to around 56.4. That was without an XP boost. And so once I got to, I did Rishi next, of course, and I was about 59.3. This is doing every single mission I could find, all the side missions and everything. So
Right.
about level 59.3 when I reached Yavin 4. I've been running a 25% XP boost ever since I got to Rishi. And then once I was through Yavin 4, towards the end, I was about 59.7. But things were slowing down there. That you have to do the daily missions if you pick the solo path to get to the final encounter. And the final encounter has an issue we'll talk about later. So I decided just do a round of Oricon dailies. And that almost got me there. Then I had to do a couple more on CZ, and that was
Right.
it, 60.
And I understand
So, yeah.
Bill's making out like a bandit selling XP boosts.
Indeed. Now, they are on special at the moment, the 5-pack for 270 cartel coins. I think,
Nice.
I bought a couple of those just so I'll be able to use them on other characters as well.
Right.
Or sell them myself, we'll see. And what also slowed me down yesterday was switching between 9 different characters to get all of their crafting going, collecting all the mats.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So it's surprisingly time consuming to just switch character to character every whatever it is as their missions expire, so you want to get new ones going. Yeah, so very much enjoying it. I'll probably do my Sork next. He's already 55, of course, but I just got to take him through and get as much XP as I can prior to actually getting in there, because it does seem to be a bit of a problem, particularly towards the end, particularly when there's a lot of characters on Yavin 4, a lot of players,
Right.
and there's some guys griefing as well, which is a bit nasty. But anyway, that's my week. Over to you, Chill.
All right. First, a shout out to the chat room. Auric is here. Benaya is here. Flux. HK _Chubs _keeps. Enixis Kranatoko is here. Micra Ortolan, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Palace is here. Sanada. Sukai Baru. Ben _B55. Karanome. Dinar. Ferris Terran. Nathan Rye Raider. And Yawns are all here. So hi, everyone. And let's see, I did tons and tons of leveling this weekend before the big drop. And unfortunately, I made an error, and I actually don't have... I have 16 55s, but 2 of them are operatives. I don't have a trooper commando at 55. So, yeah, I got that. I have one at like 39. I did a little bit of leveling on Monday just before the drop. And so, made an error there. A little sad, but on the other hand, once I've leveled a few characters up through Rishi and Yavin, it'll be interesting to go back and try leveling, with the new discipline trees and so on during the normal stuff. So, yeah, I'm all right with it. So I put that aside and I just started working on my Sentinel once it dropped yesterday. And while I was leveling, I ran into Gas Guy on Quesh, just kind of out of the blue. So he was busy at work too, doing some leveling. And I put up a couple of YouTube videos over the weekend, including what I think is a very rare agent story from Voss. I say rare because you have to, I think, I know you have to be an agent, and I'm pretty sure you have to be male, and you definitely have to be taking at least some of the light side choices. So, so you can watch that video if you want, if you don't play the agent story, or only play at dark side. You might check that out. Let's see, and I did some work to get my Sentinel ready to become my main, did the Oricon missions, which is what Red saw, and then yesterday, once it dropped, I got my Sentinel through the 4 solo tactical flashpoints, and then through part of Rishi. She's 75% of the way through level 57 or so, and getting close to the end of Rishi. I'm not quite sure exactly how close, but yeah. So, obviously, tons more to do to get her even ready. And Tio, what's our goal for our operation group as far as trying to be ready, ready for story mode?
Thursday, Friday next week. We want everyone to be in 186s from basic comm gear at the least. Better if you can do hard modes.
Okay, great. I should be able to do that. And yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Tons and tons of streaming over the weekend, and that was fun too. So, all right, moving on to the tip of the week. And I have a tip as well. Just as an aside, if you do the Rishi missions, you'll be getting 168 gear. And by the way, the Sentinel gear and some of the other ones as well, while you're leveling in Rishi, looks really good. It's a really good-looking set of gear.
And you'll
But
get
if you
like
do
3 or
the
4 copies of it.
yeah, but if you do all 4 of those flashpoints, tactical flashpoints, that set you up for the Revan story, you'll get 162 gear. So if you've like just leveled your character, go ahead and do those solo 4 tactical flashpoints. You'll get all 162 gear, and you'll be pretty much ready for Rishi at that point. I found that Cybertech wasn't really much help because I haven't gotten it to max level, but when you're leveling it up, it's only getting you to 168, which you're already getting along the way. So at least while you're leveling it, Cybertech's not going to be very handy. I'm hoping that once I get it maxed out, that it'll be making better stuff that I can actually use. So
it's well worth mentioning that if you you're still needing to complete the Forged Alliance's story arc, do it. Based off of the available experience on Rishi and Yavin 4, it will be a tremendous amount of help. I know Ordo did just Manon and Rakata Prime and was 56 before even landing on Rishi. So
yeah, that's about right.
The planets themselves are a little bit experience starved, so if you can do those quests, it's remarkably good.
Yeah, it's definitely helped me a lot. And finally, just make sure before you head off to do the tacticals to go ahead and open up those next 50 points on your crew missions so that you can start going on that. All right, so we have a couple of tips. I'll go ahead and grab the first one, Tio. This one's from Jagger. He's a Vanguard Trooper Shadowlands server, and he's in the Tor Wars / X-Force guild, so it does not matter what decorations you've actually placed in your stronghold. Your personal prestige score is based on what decorations you have unlocked. So, some quick math. If you have 50 of a decoration, you get 198 prestige because you get 100 for the first one and 2 for the next 49. Your stronghold prestige score is your total personal prestige score times the percentage completion of the stronghold. So if you try doing nothing but putting in basic decorations and trophies, as Jagger did as he says, in my DC department, and had it at 100%, then it was the same score as my Nar Shaddaa one at 100%. So there you go.
Our second tip is from our guildmate Karanome. That's Lee, who came to our Utini Cantina in Las Vegas. First, Shadow of Revan. He's actually got 4 different tips here. So Shadow of Revan is the first MMO expansion I can recall where you can get to max crafting level using previous expansion mats. So all but the most casual of crafters should be 6x500 by now from mats in their bags at launch. You did not even need to be in the beta for this. The numbers on Torhead months ago showed it. So I wonder what he's talking about. Must be the war supplies and stuff, because they stayed orange awfully long.
I actually did do a little bit of leveling using the war supplies.
Campaign stuff, yeah. By the way, Turg mentions Chill. You reverse engineer the 168 greens to get the 178 blues, and then reverse engineer that to get the 186 purples.
Yes.
For your Cybertech stuff.
Well, that'll be good. I'll have a lot of that to do then, because first I got to get the points up and so on. So.
And all the mats, of course. And you certainly do not want to buy them off the GTN, because this would be a terrible time to buy. His second tip, if you don't want to bother Tio in chat like I did, know that if you land on Rishi and talk to the nearby Frod, who is a Rishi, to the nearby Frod. Now, that he is the mission giver to get you into the first flashpoint that is on Rishi. That is Blood Hunt. You will not get the solo option. You do have to wait until you get to the point where you're directed there as part of the story to be able to do it solo. So you can do it before that, but you have to do it in a group.
Can I just mention as well, did anyone else find him very quiet when you were speaking to him? His voice acting was... the voice was muted very low. I'll start that again. His voice was pretty low in volume for some reason.
Was that
not
the bird
entirely
guy?
sure why.
Didn't notice.
The Flashpoint guy.
Oh.
I don't know if it was just my client or not.
I don't remember actually that particular conversation.
Was no different to the rest.
Might have just been my client then.
His third tip, unlike many of you, I do not have full 186s for my companions. I don't think many of us have full 186s for our companions. So I bought a set of the 55 com gear with an Alts comms and put it in some free legacy gear. I figure that someday 21 other trees will start Rishi, so I might as well. Once prices come down, I might even make a set of purple level 58 gear as well, since it will get used so much by her, as well as the bounty hunter and troopers who pass through. Now, it's worth noting that as part of the completing the prelude, you will get a main hand for your companion. Completing just the Rishi story, you will get the offhand, which are fantastic. They're both 192s, so that is
Nice.
Yeah,
and
I
the
found my
Legacy,
companion
which is even better.
was doing more damage than me. My companion was doing more damage than me, and I thought, what? And he was a healer. He was the healing companion.
Yeah, and actually, it's worth, depending on which character type you want. If you want to be rolling with a DPS companion, remember that your melee DPS only companion is most likely to be doing the most damage output. But then again, if you want a healer or a Treek or whomever else, it's naturally going to be a different weapon for them.
What makes you say that?
Just from this is pre 3.0 release notes, but people that have done studies on how much damage output they're putting over time for the various companions, it seems universally true that the melee DPS consistently lead on that, no matter what class you are. So.
And Lee's last tip is, assuming you have the 8 data cubes unlocked for your legacy, for any tune you haven't done it, don't forget to talk to the Shroud and get your free 24 hours of XP boost. I have no idea what he's talking about.
What is that?
Yeah, anyone know?
Those are those, I believe, those sort of one-off quest items that were on the cartel market, and they decided not to do them anymore because it felt like
You were paying for story.
or something that would for story exactly.
I didn't even know it gave any boosts.
And it gives XP boost, I believe, is the
Wow, I actually have that.
I have some.
Well, I only have one of them, but I'll totally use it.
Oh yeah.
All right. And by allotment, the winner is Karen Ohm. So congratulations. You're the winner of an M8R3 code courtesy of BioWare and an OotiniCast provided cartel market pack from the latest shipment. And if you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com by next Wednesday. And that will bring us to the holofeed. Tio?
Well, I guess it's no surprise what we're going to be talking about. We're going to go through, for the most part, Game Update 3.0, which was deployed on Tuesday. Maintenance was scheduled to be 5 hours. I believe it came up maybe half an hour, 40 minutes before that. So, of course, that was early in the morning. The patch was massive. They warned us it'd be 2.5 gig. The first file I downloaded was about 3.2 gig before I went to bed. So, yeah. For those of you with fast internet connections, no worries. For the rest of us, we did have to wait a while, but that's okay. So lots of content, presumably. We got a welcome from associate producer Andrew Horwitz. There's actually no information there. It's just welcome to the expansion or early access. Remember, if you had pre-ordered before 2 November, you are now able to access the 7 days of early access, and then everyone will get access on 9 December next week.
That's remarkable because there were 23 instances of Rishi yesterday, and that's just from early access, folks. Wow. Okay.
Indeed.
Has everyone else got their Statue of Revan? Because mine hasn't even arrived yet.
So, I'll mention this now because Cal did actually let us know about that. You get it from the vendor that is now located near the security key vendor on the fleet. So go to that guy. You can buy up to 10. They are bound, so you can't donate them to your guild. At least I couldn't find a way of doing it. So yeah, and there's 0 credits. So
only for the people who pre-ordered, I'm guessing.
Do we have to get it this next week?
I don't think so. No, I suspect you've got as much time as you like.
Oh, good.
Let's see. All right, so the game update itself. A couple of things I noticed before we dive into the patch notes. Firstly, the galaxy map. If you now try to travel anywhere in your personal starship, when you hover over the different regions in the galaxy, it will list all of the planets in each of those regions. Now, previously, it didn't do that. So, Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah.
It's a really nice little quality of life change. Of
They
course, we've all
changed-
memorized where they are by now, but
Right.
They changed the font in the Galaxy map too,
Yeah.
and honestly, it's really unattractive.
oh, fair
It's
enough.
like a major downgrade on quality.
Yeah, there's a couple other font changes in the game too that took a little getting used to.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing, when you select mobs now out in the wild, as in NPCs, if they are needed for a mission, it will now actually give you the count of what mission and how many of them you need. So
Right.
this is something we've seen in other games previously, so this is a really, really nice thing. So if you click on a random
that's
mob,
right.
it will tell you if you actually need it. It won't tell you if killing that will actually trigger like a new mission series or something, as has happened on Rishi. But yeah, that's again another nice
Right.
quality of life thing.
Yeah,
Is
it'll
that
say
for
like,
everything, or was that just for Rishi and Yavin 4? 5?
That I don't know. I have not gone back and checked.
I've seen that though. It says like Jungle Wampa 403 of the
Exactly.
Meat Quest and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. That is very nice.
All right, now the patch notes, we've gone over a lot of this previously, so we're not going to belabor any of it. So obviously we have Rishi, which is where you start, and Yavin 4. Let's see, what do we want to touch on here? Disciplines are all live now. One interesting thing I didn't know or didn't realize from previously was that to reset your discipline, you can still do it. The discipline choice is not final, as I saw many people asking in general chat. If you've got the field respec legacy option, you can do it anywhere to change your discipline.
Right.
Or you could talk to the skill mentor NPC, which is in combat training on the fleet. It's on the outer ring, left-hand end. Now, however, the utility choices, you can apparently change those at will whenever you're out of combat. You do not need field respec for that.
Right. So it's
As I
only if you're
discovered.
planning on going from one spec to another. That's nice.
That is a really good change. So you really can just flick your utilities around at any time out of combat, obviously.
Right.
Now, the prelude stuff to Shadow of Revan, which will take you through the Forge Alliance's story arc, there was some problems with this that some people were encountering, and we've just had a post from Eric Musco that summarizes all the useful information. So let's just cover that for anyone who hasn't done it yet. Firstly, the whole solo mode thing. If you have already completed Forge Alliances, the full chain, you cannot access those tacticals in solo mode.
Interesting.
And you can only complete each flashpoint in solo mode just one time on each character. So we got the impression, or at least I had, that solo mode was just a thing that would always be there for
Right,
players.
right.
Yeah.
But no, apparently not.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see this post. I have checked this for the expansion flashpoints, having done them solo, and then I went back just to see.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, really happy about this. You can watch it and see the story thread once, but then if you want to do it again or see it again, you got to do it with a group because it's a flashpoint. So I do like this a lot, especially since, of course, they're tying the flashpoints and the operations and everything all together. This is a really elegant way to, hey, yes, you can solo it once, but no, this isn't a permanent thing. Level another character, then you can go and solo.
But then where's the harm in keeping the solo mode to be repeatable? There's not really much harm in it. Obviously, there's going to be some people who want to continue doing it in solo mode so that they can get the achievements because they still don't like to
Farming gear, farming money, farming things.
But you don't get gear in doing it in solo mode. I've noticed you get basic comms, but that's it.
Okay, basic
Or
comms
just-
are gear.
Or just me.
Very high level gear. Basic comms are good gear. But no, I mean, the other reason is because flashpoints are supposed to prepare you for operations, which are supposed to prepare you for hard mode content. I mean, this is a progression of the group content, is what flashpoints are supposed to be about. So you get to experience the story once, and then it's not going to incentivize you to keep being solo in group content.
Right, right.
And it is ludicrously easy, as we've commented previously. With the PSR droid, it's just a joke, honestly. So that's why. So this drift towards supporting the solo players that Red you've commented on previously apparently isn't happening at quite the rate that you feared.
No, this is great.
It's still quite a bit of help though. So I mean, if you are a solo player, this will be unlocked for you, the one time.
And technically, you do totally get gear in the Rakata Prime solo modes, because you get some greens, and then at the end of at least Manon, I remember, you get a really nice epic purple implant as well. So.
Yeah, actually, I think.
And doing those
with...
flashpoints in particular, you're also getting the token drops, that you can go to the vendor and buy things off of. Like the speeder and all that stuff for the reputation rewards. So I wish I could actually keep farming that, because I would do that solo all day long and get every one of those without having to roll against anybody for them.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking the same thing. Ooh, hey, that Manon speeder's pretty cool. Maybe I'll get...
Exactly.
Then in fairness, it's no different to just doing regular questing, because you're getting one basic combination per boss you defeat. Yeah, sure, you get like a piece of loot at the end of the solo flashpoint with that last boss, but you would probably get that if you were just questing in the actual world.
The big point is it's group content. End of story. So it's meant to be group content. They're giving us the ability to see it solo, but it's not going to. It will remain group content.
Well, let's be honest. It's still a tactical once you've done it once solo. Yeah. It's still cake. I mean, I haven't done it, but I'm assuming it's as cake as all the other tacticals.
It is.
But if you want to solo it, it will be a little more challenging than with the GSR droid. A little more challenging. Okay, so there are people having problems getting into it. If they happen for whatever reason, something goes wrong, they get stuck and they can no longer actually progress. And that is kind of nasty. So some people are affected. I'll link to the post if you're having these issues. Read through what Eric suggests to do to get around it. It's sounding like it's not going to be an easy fix if you are stuck. Alright, anyway, back to what we got. The effect procs, you'll see they're lighting up when certain abilities are actually visible or have procced on your UI. As far as I know, you can't yet switch it off. The buff bars, you may notice they've shifted down or something.
Yeah,
you have to use your UI editor to set up your player debuff and buff bars, and then for your target frames, just set those up the way you want, and the focus target frame as well. Those are different. For me, my debuffs are not showing for my target frame, and I'm still not sure why. I might have to create a brand new UI from scratch or something to work out what's going wrong there, but something's a bit screwy, because it should be fine.
Right.
In terms of events, Bounty Contract Week will be back starting next week, December 9th. And then the following week, as we found out via SWOTOR Instagram's account, Life Day will be back on 16 December. So Bounty Contract Week next week, Life Day possibly for a couple of weeks after that. That's what it was last year. And also from the SWOTOR Instagram account, they mentioned the GRE event will be coming back not too far away. Now, if you remember last year, I'm pretty sure they overlapped them. So maybe that is Life Day and the GRE event. So maybe they'll do something similar this time as well. So events coming if you are sick of leveling and want to just take a break.
I'm not holding my breath, but I really hope they actually do something proper with Life Day, because trying to grind all those snowball bombs and all those parcels, that is just a nightmare. And even if they do just keep that, I hope they bring the drop rate down, because it's, or up even I should probably say, because it's, I'm not going to spend hours upon hours trying to grind for something I'll probably only use once.
As someone who did, I hope they do not lower the drop rate. So if you want it, you've got to do the time.
Is it going to be the same, or is it going to have new stuff?
No hint. No hint. Right. Ranked Arena Season 3 finished with 3.0. We're going to do an analysis next week from a listener who actually has done some really nice analysis of the stats. So we'll do that next week, probably in our discussion.
Yeah, I saw that.
Now, to celebrate the third anniversary of the game, which is coming up towards the end of December, they have made Drummond Cast and Coruscant Strongholds available for 3 credits. Of course, they're cheap anyway. And someone asked, is that it? And the reply was, there is more to come, no worries. Keep your eyes on the site as we get closer. So that is still a few weeks off.
Right.
Now, here's a few little things, bits and pieces. We'll just touch on it quickly. Stronghold commanders, that's for Conquest, are now level 60, as you would expect. There's new med packs and stims on the medical droids on the fleet.
Good.
And of course, there's all new crafting stuff to do there. All the dailies and weeklies have been updated with the new operations and tacticals and hard modes. Hard mode flashpoints, which is the Forged Alliances ones, switched to hard mode. Basic accommodations, we talked about the conversion, so that all happened. This one's nice. I had no hint of this. Once you reach level 56, you can send out 6 companions on crafting missions and crucible stuff. So, excellent. Level 56 onwards, you can send out 6.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice
So
to
all
have
of us-
a tweak at that point.
Exactly.
Or
exactly.
HK. Or both.
Did you notice that the daily looking for group, well, actually the looking for group tool only lets you do the 2 most recent tacticals? It won't let you random into any of the other ones.
Okay.
Did I notice at level 60 or prior?
I'm at 59 right now,
Okay.
which was
Oh,
discouraging. I mean, I don't like tacticals as it is, but it's like, wow, I mean, I'd still like to see Kuwat drive yards and CZ-198, or I guess that's
Really?
not a tactical, but yeah, heck, the Forged Alliances should be in there as tacticals. This is the frickin' Revan expansion.
I guess because they're level 55, but you're right, why not include
Yeah.
them?
Yeah.
one other thing about doing those 4 is that if you're an HK fan, you get 2 different customizations for HK 51
Yeah.
in the course of it. That's pretty cool. And they're both pretty funny, too.
Now, for those of us who are crafters doing crew skills, you will have to purchase, as we talked about last week, the upgrade to expert crew skill training to let you go from 450 to 500. That is now actually trainable at 440, so you do not need to be 450 to actually get it.
Okay.
Now, that's nice if you're actually moving your way up there. So that'll probably be more useful for people in the future who aren't already 450. It costs you a cool 50k credits. So those of us with many alts, that is a little painful, but whatever. The previous one is currently 10k.
Okay.
And they also changed the advanced crew skill training. That was the one that lets you go from 400 to 450. You can train that at 390. So the same deal, 10 points earlier than
Alright,
the actual
fine.
limit.
But the materials on the planets are all still 451, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
As
you gotta
we
get that first
predicted
point.
last week, you will need that first point from a mission or from just gathering normally. For example, I got up to 500 scavenging on my Guardian because he just by doing the Forged Alliances flashpoints before I even got
Exactly.
to any post 55 content, which was
Yeah,
very
the
nice.
Forged Alliance flashpoints, when you're soloing them, you can scavenge those as well
Yes.
before you even
which is
get
what I
to Rishi. The big thing about Rishi is that the bio nodes are all required 451, but some of the mobs that you kill are actually 450. So you can
Yeah.
bump up that way.
Okay.
Cool.
There's a couple of new cartel packs. I think we mentioned it last week. The Shadow packs. That's this shipment, the Initiates and the Pilgrims. I'm sure there's previews of what's in there out there somewhere, or you can just preview them yourself in the cartel market. Sorry, in the collections interface online. What else? All right, now they did do a big spiel about classes and combat, which again we've covered sort of ad nauseum, you could say. But let's just quickly summarize. You will do less damage at level 55 than you did prior to the expansion. I didn't actually notice that. It seemed to make no difference at all as far as I was concerned, but the damage will get back to where it was once you get to level 60. Enemies at level 50 and below are now less difficult to defeat, so if you're leveling from now on up to level from 1 to 50, everything will be easier and faster.
Okay.
Not as easy and fast as it was with 12 XP, obviously, but oh well.
Right.
Dots from players can no longer be cleansed. That's in war zones. But from mobs basically in PvE, they're fine. You just work the same way as previously, except your cleanse is now on a longer cooldown, as is your interrupts. CC, crowd control, stuns, etc. can be cleansed. Channeled abilities no longer affected by pushback, but they can be stopped by interrupts, stuns, and whatever. Channeled abilities now consume resources every time the ability ticks. Basically, as you're channeling something and it ticks several times, every tick will spend resource. If you cut it off early, you've only spent as much resource as you have channeled. All accuracy increasing abilities have been removed, so we all have to stack accuracy if you're DPS, and accuracy rating will grant more accuracy per point.
Okay.
I guess it's a nice change depending on how they've rebalanced everything with the gear. Tanks will get the 10% accuracy in their tank stance, so that means they do not have to gear accuracy, so let's make that absolutely clear. Alacrity has been reworked, so it speeds up all the ability activation, global cooldown, resource regeneration, and dots and HOTS. And it does reduce the internal cooldown, the rate limit on certain passive abilities. We talked about the new UI options. Make sure you go into UI editor to mess with that. The line of sight abilities has been increased to 270 degrees rather than 180, so you can actually shoot at people slightly behind you. And all AoE healing abilities are now smart. They will prioritize the target with the lowest health percentage first. So that's all of them, basically. There's a bunch of stuff in the patch notes that we talk about philosophy, but it's nothing we haven't covered before.
Tio, one thing I was trying to work out, and I think I have an answer, but for Alacrity, it speeds up the cooldown of abilities that you activate. However, if an ability is already activated and then you do like an alacrity boost, which the Sentinel has a pretty good one in the combat tree for Zen, it does not speed up the ones that are already on cooldown.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it does. That's
right.
kind of what you would expect.
I was trying to work out whether it would or not, and I tried it a few times, and I did not notice it either jumping down upon activation, nor did I see it ticking faster. I could be wrong because that's not a super accurate way to do it, but it does seem that that's one way that the alacrity is not helping. So
that would make sense, because technically that would be kind of difficult to sort of reset the cooldown after something's already fired and they're waiting for. Right. They've already said when it's going to become available. That also probably means that dots and hots that you've already put out, if you then alacrity boost, they're going to tick at the same rate. They will not have advantage of any subsequent alacrity increase that you've applied.
So you're going to need to be, if you're in a group, you're going to want to communicate much more clearly with advance notice. If you're playing with people that are dot DPSers, you're going to want to try and time it with just before they reapply everything.
Yes.
Right. That's right. For the Sentinel, Sentinel's combat tree doesn't use dots really, so that part's not too much of an issue. But you might, all things being equal, you might want to try to make sure that you have your alacrity boost already up when you pop like your Master Strike, for instance. Something with a fairly long cooldown, that would be nice to take a few seconds off of it.
Now, we mentioned earlier about that with the mob frames, where you actually click on it and it will actually show you mission progress. So that actually is an option. You can switch that off if for whatever reason you don't want it, if it's immersion breaking or whatever. So that is in the user interface section of the preferences window. Highlight effects. Actually, that is an option. So this is something Heather was asking for, the ability to disable a highlight proc, and apparently you can switch it off if you so desire.
Very cool.
I've been finding it a bit more annoying than helpful, because I'll be doing my rotation and I'll see like one of those being highlighted. I'm like, I can't use it there. Yeah, I need for it to cool down yet. I can't use it. Why are you highlighting it?
Oh, okay. In other words, you'd like it to only be highlighted once it comes off cooldown, as well as the proc being there.
Interesting. Sense. Yeah, I mean, he's right. I mean, that is the way it works.
Highlight it. That makes sense. Only highlight it when it's truly ready.
It's also asking me to use my damage increase abilities on low-level mobs. I'm thinking I'm not going to use those until I get to the higher-level mobs.
When is it asking you that, or telling you that?
Well, you got things like Bloodthirst for the warrior. It's asking me to... It's literally lighting that up while I'm killing, level 56 mobs.
Not that smart. It's not that smart.
It's...
Yeah, that's trying to... Yeah, no, let's not be silly. It's simply saying that the ability is actually has procced, or you have enough resource or whatever stacks, whatever, to actually trigger it. That's
Right.
all.
It's just annoying that it just does it, so I might have to turn that off.
Yep. And you may remember that issue where companions had granted an extra percentage of various stats for completing their stories and whatever, like double in some cases. Well, that's fixed, so it's apparently back to normal, which is nice.
Woohoo.
And finally, in Ancient Hypergate, on the Imp side, there is a PvP mission well, the southern one anyway. There is a mission turn-in terminal at last. We mentioned that previously. Anyway, so there's a bunch of known issues. One of them is kind of nasty. Well, actually, it's really nasty. It's the conclusion of the Shadow of Revan's story. If you are doing it in solo mode, right at the end, you get to fight the big antagonist in the story. You know, well, you interact with Revan in some way.
There's a
won't go into
title
detail.
to this expansion, and the big baddie at the end might have something to do with that.
Indeed. Anyway, so not to beat around the bush, that final encounter is bugged for at least some people. It is not working
Yep.
correctly. You cannot complete the fight.
I've
So
tried it
they
4
are working
times
on it.
and can't do it. It is driving me bonkers because I want to see the resolution of this storyline so
Right.
badly.
Yes. But yeah, so obviously it seems a little unfortunate that it is broken in this way. Yeah. Anyway. Now, also, there were some latency issues that some areas were really laggy, but they implemented hotfixes for that. They did not need to take the service down. Those are all in place. And making the various instances of like Rishi and Yavin Force smaller, so less players in each one.
Okay.
That did seem to fix everything up.
Nice.
People were complaining about having to pay for skills again, as in there were some things they didn't think they would need to retrain. Eric Musco's just put something up about that, and he says it is intended that there are abilities that need to be trained or retrained. Here are some of the criteria that could cause this to happen. If it's an existing ability that changed in name or functionality, this could especially affect disciplines which used to share an overlapping name and set of abilities, such as lethality, snipers, and operatives. We adjusted what level you could acquire certain ranks of skills. If you're a character pre-55, you may be training skills at ranks that were previously unavailable. And in some cases, we moved abilities from the base class to the advanced class or vice versa. This technically means you could have to retrain an ability you already had since it changed where and how you got it. Yeah.
I found that abilities that you had to retrain were pretty cheap anyway. You had all your new abilities or your rank ups, and they were very expensive, and all the ones you had to retrain that you already had in previous patches didn't cost much anyway, so at least you weren't going to be too worse for wear.
Just fair warning, once you hit level 60, it's like 250 or 300,000 credits to train all your level 60 abilities.
Okay.
Look forward to that.
Great.
So you do make a fair number of credits as you're leveling, I noticed.
I've lost about
you do.
500 so far. I haven't gotten any extra credits yet at all.
The tactical flashpoints solo mode do a fair bit of dropping of credits as well.
I'm finding the chests on Rishi are also doing that, but I don't know if that was intended or not.
Right.
Possibly it was, but
Yeah.
apparently there are people who are trying to exploit it. I'm not going to say how, but there are people who know how to.
Well,
And
hopefully
they're-
they'll be banned.
Yeah.
Yeah. One example of having to go back and buy abilities was on my Sentinel. There used to be 2 talents that basically everyone took. It was on the bottom of the left-hand tree. Basically doubled the amount of centering you got, so you can get your stack of 30 for all your abilities. And then the other one was the one that refunded 1 point when you use your major strikes. And now those are just natural to Sentinels, but because it was a talent and not an ability before, you have to go to a trainer and actually buy them in order to have them. So if you're wondering why you're not getting 4 stacks of centering instead of 2, you need to buy those. One of them's super cheap; it's like 300 credits, and the other is surprisingly expensive, like 25,000. So, oh well. It might be different costs if the character was lower level. I don't know.
Sure. All right. Anything else on the expansion? We're going to be talking about this obviously as we do more stuff as time goes on.
Yep.
Just remember, do not skip side quests. If you actually want to get to 60 through the content, you will probably run short. XP boost will help, but it probably won't be enough. Running dailies and things elsewhere prior when you're lower level will probably not be a bad thing either. It's a shame there is not enough XP on Rishi and Yevon 4 to get you to 60, is the short answer.
Do we know what level the McKeb chain goes grey?
McKeb, Oricon, CC198 all give you excellent XP, so even at 60, or 59, I should say.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's fine.
Dan Dune in the chat room actually mentioned that as a tip as well, that Oricon is better than Rishi for experience returns and time invested.
I'll bet, because it's a very nice tight little quest chain.
And as I mentioned earlier, I got 30% the rest of the way pretty much from 59 to 60 on Oricon, just doing the full round of dailies and the weekly.
Just one set?
Just one set.
Oh, excellent. I'll go do that today since I apparently can't finish my story mode.
And it beats fighting a whole lot of people for mobs. As part of the chain that leads to that final confrontation with Revan, you have to kill 4 golds if you're doing it the solo way, and their respawn time is terrible, just terrible. So, as in minutes, many minutes, like 5 or 10 minutes before they respawn, and you have to kill, each person has to kill all those 4 guys. So, it's a waste of time to just be hanging around. Even if you group up,
Really?
there's more people than 4. I don't know if you can do it as a raid. Maybe you can.
Other quests have allowed you to do them in ops groups, so...
Yeah, okay, but
It
it'd
wouldn't
be nice if
surprise
you didn't have to get into a group for that.
The swarm, yes.
Especially with imps and pups on the same...
Speaking of which, even being on a PvP server, and yes, I'm seeing the enemy everywhere. It has been very kind so far in the Bastion. Died a couple times, killed a few because they tried to attack me. But in general, people have actually... And I've noticed this with events before, too. First time for events. There seems to be kind of a quiet before the storm. So, although, ironically, if you don't have the pre-order, probably next week on the Bastion, everyone's going to be killing everybody.
Most likely. All right. Now, there was the Gunslinger and Scoundrel live stream, and the blogs for those guys published. We're not going to cover it in detail. If you want to see what's in the Gunslinger and Scoundrel, you can go and play yours right now. That's got all the changes sort of live. A few interesting things I did note from the discussion. They talked about the DPS targets. David Demery was there with Eric Musco, and he actually listed their DPS targets. Subject to change, of course, but he did make it clear that they did have different ideal targets, this is assuming the perfect rotation and everything else. And the targets are different, depending on whether you're melee or ranged, or whether you're burst versus sustained DPS. So if you're in full 198 gear, which is the current highest tier, which you will get from doing the hard mode operations, 198, and you have full debuffs on the target, the sustained DPS for melee is supposed to be 4325. For burst melee, it's supposed to be 4125. So if you're a tree that is defined as sustained, 4325. If you're burst, 4125, so less. And for sustained DPS who is a ranged, such as Gunslinger, in one of their sustained tree, 4125, the same as burst melee. And burst range is 3925, so again lower if you're defined as burst range. If you're sort of a tree, a discipline that is in between, the sort of in between sustained and burst, for example, Saboteur, or the middle tree for Marauders and Scents, they target about 4025.
Okay. Wow.
4025 for ranged and 4225 for melee, odd man out. So these are just, this is showing that their actual DPS targets are different. Now the reason melee is higher is because it's harder for a melee player to actually, you have to be within 4 meters of the boss.
At all times,
basically.
yes.
Yeah. To do
or
damage.
the target in PvP, too.
Indeed. So that's why, I mean, it makes sense. And the burst is lower over time simply because you can burst as opposed to sustain, which can't do as much damage in a shorter window.
Right. If there's a burn phase, or if the boss like jumps away and comes back for short times, that you have to burst them down, that sort of thing. Burst is much more useful in that case, so they want to bring it down a bit.
Yep.
I'm kind of curious whether combat is considered sustained or burst. I don't really know. I would guess maybe burst, but I'm not sure.
Combat, that's middle tree.
Middle tree. Yeah.
That's considered in between.
Is that in
Yes,
between?
but let's remember that this is the same development team that until recently was using a stopwatch and a guy that didn't know how to play the class in order to measure DPS. So this is their goals. Let's be realistic as to whether or not they get them.
Well, we'll see. Now, they do have a target time to kill, as in how much it should take to actually get someone dead, and that's based on the target's health versus the actual and that's how they determine the DPS. So with this much damage per second, you should be able to kill a target with X amount of health in Y seconds. So that tells them what the DPS should be, and hence the targets that they develop from that. If they don't bring the damage to where it's supposed to be, which is all this adjustment that they're doing, the bosses are too easy in PvE, and the time to kill is too low in PvP. So if you're doing too much damage, you're going to burst people down far too quickly. And from what Pez was saying about PvP at the moment, doesn't seem that much different. Feels about the same, ironically enough.
I thought, did they feel it was too low in 2.0?
They did say that they wanted to increase the time to kill in PvP.
And in PvE, they messed it up with the operation bosses. They were apparently too easy. So,
and they said that was due to that internal calculation error that they had been that they recently discovered. So.
A couple of other things for gunslingers and snipers. The purge effect has been removed from your dodge. You don't need it anyway because you don't need to escape into stealth. What's the reasoning? They didn't give you any extra mobility because you're basically a turret. You do still have hightail it.
Okay, and let's be honest. First of all, they have tons of mobility. Hightail it is huge, and if you're not playing the first tree, very few of your abilities even require you to channel, let alone be in cover. So whoever thinks that gunslingers don't have a lot of mobility, they do take cover, and you're supposed to be standing still. But beyond that, learn to play your character better. And who knows with 3.0? We'll just have to see.
They reckon the depth of the combat should be about the same. They're not certainly deepening it over time, as in how complex or whatever it is, and they do want to avoid ability bloat. And as far as the nerfs to healing scoundrels, which we've been hearing about in operatives, they've basically added a couple of things that mean that you will have to stand still. For example, your diagnostic scan, which I'm told I should never have been using ever, but now I will have to use it, so no worries. So you must stand still, obviously, to channel that. And they have added the Colto Waves thing, which is a 8-person heal, but it is channeled. So, and there is no way of, they haven't got an ability or utility that will let you cast that on the move, so you will have to stand still. So that's how they're sort of changing it. Also, your instant heal that consumes a upper hand or tactical advantage now consumes energy. So it didn't before. It used to be free as far as the energy goes. So
it was only upper
will
hand.
run dry if you're not recording your energy. So we'll see how that plays out. So far, too early to tell.
Right.
Anyway, that's that. I'll link to it all, of course. Red, do you want to talk about gunslinger changes at all, or too early to really how you feel about it? Or you're not playing gunslinger, are you?
I could talk about it. I know certainly quite a bit about it. It's not going to be my main now, and there are some reasons for that. Although, if you want me to go through it,
let's leave it for now. Actually.
Overall, I think that the play styles are going to feel very, very familiar, although Saboteur is actually looking very, very intriguing, and I think we knew this when they made their most recent changes pre-3.0, that they still hadn't fully fleshed out the way that they wanted Saboteur to play, and now you get to see that larger picture, which is great. And Saboteur being able to have a 1-second cast on flyby is awesome. The dirty fighting and Sharpshooter, there's a lot of changes that actually came into effect for both of those, but they change how the class participates more than they actually change how it's played. Is the best way to put it. It'll still feel tremendously familiar and similar.
Okay.
And the frickin' isn't it? Can't you? I think they said you could be mobile in Dirty Fighting while you cast your wounding shots, which is pretty much amazingly awesome. Dirty Fighting, you can move all day long, basically. Yeah, occasionally you want to throw in a charge burst or a speed shot, but that's so few and far between. You can just be spinning in circles. Well, running in circles, I guess, as long as you don't turn your most narrow 90 degrees back on them now, because you can shoot behind you.
Slightly.
But no, I'm actually pretty happy with a lot of the gunslinger changes. I think a lot of people were hoping for more. It does look like Sharpshooter is going to finally be able to do large amounts of damage, which, I mean, naturally it seems like it should be the highest sustained DPS, and it never has been since launch, so it looks like that may be the case. We'll have to see how the numbers actually play out. But I think that's great because it is a really pleasant play style, and a lot of people preferred it. It's just, at the end of the day, if you wanted the numbers, you shouldn't have been playing it. If you needed the numbers, and now that looks like it, yeah, that's pretty much my summary.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's just briefly touch on the SWTOR infographic that was published last week. Mm-hmm. So I'll link to it, of course. It's just they've done these previously. It's around the anniversary time. 57 million characters created in SWTOR up to this point for the 3rd anniversary.
Not all of them yours, Tio. Not all of them yours.
Yeah, only about a quarter of them, right?
1.79 billion PvP kills. Order nice. 66 would be a tall order since there are 17 million Jedi player characters.
No surprise that Jedi is more popular.
That's about right, isn't it?
Yeah, they show later on.
Yeah. We'll get to that.
True. Yeah.
Yep. Some of the we'll get there.
104 hours of cinematics. I'll skip that. All right. What would you like to draw attention to?
Oh, gosh.
First, I mean, okay, 57 million characters is all well and good, but that's characters created. It's got nothing to do with leveling.
Sure.
But in particular, and that's another thing too, is like 17 million Jedi, although they might be, all level 1 as well. Placeholders, name holders, things like this. More interesting to me is, one, that they finally did confirm they've got over 1 million monthly active players. That's great. Yes. I'm liking to see the health on that. But yeah, when it comes to the classes, remarkable. I just wish they would have told us these numbers based off of, say, beyond Chapter 1. You don't even have to say level max cap. I'd like to see beyond Chapter 1. But more Jedi Knights than Warriors. That blows my mind. More bounty hunters than troopers, that makes sense,
Yeah.
There's a lot of Boba Fett fans for sure. About the same agents as smugglers. We always knew they were the least played class. I'm surprised it's so close, though, especially with the popularity of the Imperial Agent story itself. You would have thought that it would have driven people to experience it a little bit more. And more consulars than Inquisitors also blows my mind.
Lightning, I thought would have drawn a lot of people. These aren't big differences, like with the Consulars, 8.8 million versus 8.5 million.
The fact that they're close is what surprises me. Yeah, especially because lightning. Everybody loves their lightning. So
I do. Yes.
There were almost 1 million more Jedi Knights, though. That one, and 1 million more bounty hunters. Those two were more noticeable. But yeah, when it comes to smugglers, agents, Inquisitors, consulars, they're essentially the same.
How many hours have people invested in SWTOR since launch? 635 million hours.
I think it's funny that the most popular lightsaber color is the advanced black yellow fortitude crystal. So it's from the pre-order.
Yeah.
It's the pre-order crystal.
Exactly.
I think everyone else is just spread out, basically.
Which is another... It would have been great to say, next time you give us this information, say, purchased or earned or what, not a free gimme crystal. And don't include orange when that's the default that's in every single weapon that you get that's a green drop, you know? It's like...
All right. Anything else? 'Cause I want to move on.
No,
I
The thing
think
is,
that
fine.
the 6.8 million ships is actually poignant. That means they at least finished their Capital World class story.
True.
Or is that Galactic Starfighter? I wasn't clear.
It's player ships. I assume that means
I think
your
it's class ships, yeah.
character player ship.
Yeah, that would be accurate.
And even though it says most
So-
popular lightsaber color, why can't it just be color crystal? Why has it just got to be particular lightsaber? Is it just what? Is it just particular for lightsaber? The color crystals in lightsabers, or is it for all
Lightsaber color.
This is
Yeah.
this is the advanced black yellow fortitude crystal. This is the default one you get in the mail.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if they just said
character.
main hand weapon
And it's
color.
an endurance one. No one would be using it if it's not for the freeness.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
if it is the class ships, 6.8 million ships out of 57 million characters created, that means only 8% of the characters are getting past Coruscant. It's interesting.
Isn't
Indeed.
that over 10%?
It's just over 10%. It's like
Yeah.
12 or 13% or something like that.
That
If you
sounds
put all-
about right for
If you
the.
put all the player ships together, how large would the fleet be? Well, is that four? No, it is four player ships. I was thinking how if you was taking a fleet and then putting them together, but obviously it is just ships then.
Now, I wonder if maybe you should remove 6 from that fleet, because you've got Gab Daragon and... I'm sorry, bad joke.
All right. Next in the news and last in the news, we're going to talk briefly about the Force Awakens trailer, which did come out between the last show and this. If you listen to Star Wars podcast, you've heard this analysed to death because they're all over it. I'm going to just quickly summarise a few key points without spoiling anything, because there's nothing to spoil, because they didn't really tell us anything, because it's a teaser. The voiceover is by Andy Serkis, who played Gollum in The Lord of the Rings, etc. Well known for his mocap, motion capture work. He did the voiceover. There has been an awakening. Have you felt it? The dark side and the light. Interpret that how you will, and that people have. The scared, panicked stormtrooper on the desert planet that you see at the beginning is the desert planet's probably Tatooine. It's John Boyega, who we knew was in it. Another character, Daisy Ridley. She is seen on a new style of speeder. On
Actress.
what's probably the same. What did I say?
Character.
All right. So, Daisy Ridley is another actor who is in the movie that we knew. She's on a new style of speeder, which is on presumably the same desert planet. There's some kind of soccer ball droid. It looks like a spinning ball with an R2-D2-like head on dome top on the head.
I'm so
On the
glad I'm
top,
not the only
which
one who
is kinda
noticed
weird.
that as well.
The stormtroopers that we see in a shuttle or troop carrier are kind of upgraded. Their helmets and their armor and the blaster rifles are all new or look a little more streamlined and modern, so they have actually been upgraded. This is 30 or 40 years after the events in Return of the Jedi, so clearly it would seem the Empire is still around. And then we see some X-wings with the rebellion symbol. So
Flying
the
over the
pilot.
water looks awesome.
Flying over the water is really
It does.
cool.
We see 3 of them. They're skimming the water, and that is Oscar Isaac, is the actual pilot that we see in a cockpit that looks very similar to previous X-wing
Right.
cockpit.
And apparently the ball droid is based on some early Ralph McQuarrie stuff that was sort of ideas of what R2-D2 could be. So this is based on something that could have become R2-D2 but didn't. So that's why the
wondering how
head looks a lot like him.
Wondering how the head is staying on. Is this sort of like a little area in
gotta
the
be
middle where the head's just sort of sticking upwards or something? I'm not
Yeah,
entirely
it's gotta
sure.
be
Is it
magnetic or
magnetic?
something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or
it's Star
really,
Wars,
really good. Yeah, that's true. How do they keep the land speeders
So
up?
apparently there is, they're doing something funky with gravity or something. Let's see, this snowy forest, you see a guy or a girl, could be either, in a cloak. This is the Revan-esque kind of figure with that lightsaber, which is with the little crossguard thing, looks like a broadsword, kind of Crusader broadsword or something, really long, and the blade looks kind of different.
It's
kind of
kind of
thin.
it's a little lightningy, crackly. It's not smooth and smooth and featureless like most lightsaber.
Yeah,
blades.
there's a whole lot of discussion about just how silly a lightsaber with a crossed lightsaber, assuming that is an actual blade shooting out either side, just how practical that is, but whatever. And finally, there is a shot of the Millennium Falcon with a new radar dish. Remember, it got knocked off in Return of the Jedi. It's now kind of rectangular, not round. And it actually...
I had 30 years to fix it, so...
Indeed. Now, what we actually see is it dives towards the ground, and then a couple of TIE fighters come towards it. But they do this weird spinning thing with the camera to give the illusion that it's doing this massive in-atmosphere loop. But it's actually just flying straight down.
Sort of, yeah, it's barely
Looks
doing half of it. But it looks awesome, yes.
So anyway...
I'm actually really glad also that is the only original trilogy character that we saw in this teaser. I know a lot of people wanted to see him, but for me, anybody that I saw, we already know they're in there. That's the teaser. For me, knowing that they're going to be in the movie, I don't actually want to see them. Although I do think the next teaser should just be like a 15-second long one, and it just shows a dude in a hood, and then Luke pulls back his hood. Finished.
Clearly, the new trilogy will be carried by new actors. So, obviously, the big three are still in there, as Red's saying, but they're not going to be the key players, most like. It's time to make way for the younger generation.
Can I just say that this might be a bit controversial, but I am actually annoyed with the fan base about this trailer because they've mentioned two things, which has one of them is not as bad, but the other one is. One, you realize just how racist the fan base can be, because there was this whole debate, why is the Stormtrooper black, which really annoyed me, because I thought, why is the fan base being so picky about it? Why are they being so harsh about it? There's no need for it. And the other one was...
My response was, sweet, a trooper with his helmet off.
Yeah.
We're finally going to have a story that we get to learn about a trooper, and I was psyched. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see any of the racist nonsense. So.
And I just thought, Spaceballs did it first in 1986. So.
And the other thing is when Daisy Ridley, people kept mentioning, there's that like minor goof on the speeder where in one shot you see like this bar on the side of it, and in the other shot it's completely gone. But people just keep saying it could be two completely different scenes. You never know. But it doesn't seem likely, though, because it does seem like those two scenes go together pretty well.
Yeah.
It's a teaser. This is so rough, unfinished.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
obviously,
I'm sure
there's only
it's still
one tiny
coming
bit of CGI even in it. Well, I guess aside from the lightsaber. But
And the Falcon.
yeah, that's the one bit I was thinking of.
Okay.
People have murdered that lightsaber to death with the pictures you've seen online.
Yeah.
My God.
Stephen
I'll link
Colbert's
to one example,
video.
actually.
Stephen Colbert's video about how he was the original Star Wars fan
brilliant.
and everything is funny. And he also talks about the three-bladed
His
saber.
defense of the lightsaber is brilliant.
It kind of
When he
is,
pulls
yes.
up the little, sketch on his whiteboard, I was like, actually, that totally works for me. It's yeah. It's
See,
great.
I know it's been mentioned, and I know I've mentioned it in a video of mine before, but I do agree with what they say about the lightsaber. There is every chance he could just cut off his own hand, but anyway, we won't get into that.
All right.
Well, yeah, the cartoons about have been around for decades about how people, if they had a lightsaber, would be just chopping off their own limbs left and right. So.
All right, so that's the news in Community. Let's talk about, let's thank Scott for his most generous donation. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And to help us out, direct donations via our PayPal donation button on our site. You can buy stuff from Amazon using OotiniCast.com/Amazon if you so desire. Apparently, iTunes ratings and reviews are still a thing, so if you're willing, use OotiniCast.com/iTunes. That's just a direct link to get to us in your iTunes client.
If you're not willing, go ahead and go do that for me, because I don't have iTunes. So, yeah, thanks.
There's a new community site called talkcommunity.com. It's apparently being run by a number of people from the community, including the guy who does torpars.com.
Ooh.
So it's effectively a competitor, if you like, to Dolphy, and it's good to have at least two different places with resources for the game. So that's fantastic. Check it out. Zor's, one of the top tier progression guilds, is involved, and various others. So yeah, torcommunity.com. Now, Kuze, we're actually going to try and get him on next week, talk us through this, and I'm not going to cover it here, but there is a new set of datacrons on Rishi. And to get to it, there is no platforming involved. It's actually a quite elaborate mission chain. I will include his instructions in our show notes.
It's a mission chain?
In effect, yes. There's a bit more to it than just picking it up. So, anyway, he will talk through it on the next show. I'll include his instructions.
See, when I tried looking for achievements for Datacrons, I thought to myself, "There's no Datacrons. Why is there no Datacrons?" But apparently, if anyone wants to know, those are hidden. Apparently, so I've been told.
Aren't the Datacrons always hidden?
No, because the Makeb ones you were able to see in the achievements. In all the planet ones, you can see them all.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see
the achievements. Okay.
But they're hidden in the achievements for Rishi, and I believe is there any on Yavin 4? Not sure.
They're not so hidden.
There's one.
There's
one set. Exactly one set.
Okay.
So and if you look at the achievement total number and add up the ones that are listed within, you'll notice that the numbers don't match, and that's because there's hidden stuff involved.
All right, finally in community, our Utini Facebook group, which is created and administered by Ferris Terran, he awarded the M8R3 code to one of its members, who was Jedi Cracker, so congratulations to you, sir. Anyway, that's the news.
Okay. All right, that'll bring us to the Force Feedback, where we read out your tweets and emails. In chat room, if you have any questions to ask, we'll be gathering them now to ask once we're done with the feedback. Shamar of the Old Republic Dads Guild on the Shadowlands writes, Hang on.
Okay.
Writes, I can just get back to the game after a long hiatus for work. I picked up my Galactic Stronghold, still available from when I was a subscriber 6 months ago. I am still playing around with decorations, and I had a question. It seems as though mounts and speeders that I have are not eligible to be used as decorations. Am I missing something? When I look at the edit menu under the Mounts and Pets tab, there are 8 pages of speeder, all unavailable, and none of the ones I have unlocked to ride. Do you have ideas?
See, I thought it might have been he was choosing the wrong hook, but then he was mentioning that he was able to actually see some of the mounts, so it's possibly not that. So I'm not entirely sure then, if that's not the case.
I don't know. They should be. If he's actually got the speeders on at least one character, they should be unlocked. So...
Unless I was going to say,
I guess.
I was going to say because there's a option in the top where you can choose the ones you've got available and one of the ones you've got unavailable, and if he's only able to see the unavailable ones, then see if maybe you've just selected the ones that are unavailable. I don't know.
Maybe,
yeah.
I don't know. All right. Moving on then. Justin writes, Hi again. Just want an email about your discussion regarding the security key. Just a little tip for those who can't use security key apps. It's pretty simple, but the way I got one was just a couple months ago was on eBay. Something I wasn't aware of until I couldn't find what I was looking for is that you can actually set an alert for an item that you're looking for, and then eBay will email you as soon as a matching listed item is posted. And so that's pretty cool. I have a Windows phone and kept having to email the verification emails they send you when you don't have a key. The only problem was that sometimes I wouldn't get the emails for whatever reason, and it would be delayed for a while. And that was annoying. So I did the search on eBay, discovered someone attempting to sell one for over $100. I love SWTOR, but I don't like it that well. Anyway, I set an alert, and for a long time there was nothing. Then a couple months ago, I got an email from eBay. Someone had listed one for less than $10. After I got that, no problems setting the fob as my security key. Just thought it was worth pointing out that the keys pop up every once in a while if you know where and how to look.
And they say digital is the future.
Very nice. All right, Swotarista wrote in, I would really like to see a definition of exploiting too, referring to what we were talking about last time. Cheesing fights, flashpoints and operations, that equals exploiting, yes. Editing game files equals exploiting, yes. Rigging war zones equals exploit, yep. Everything else? Don't know. Legacy gear to move armor around, moving commendations between characters, hiding in awkward spots in war zones. P.S. The one people were getting in trouble for in Flashpoints was for Conquest. It was more than just high levels and low level Flashpoints. It also involved not having to fight anything except the final boss. And that is why it is only one time now for most Flashpoints. My guildmate said he sold 10 MK9 kits at 100,000 each. So, yep, they're still selling. Why? I don't know. I guess people are either not watching or people not buying the X-Pack is enough of a reason.
Guess so.
Or maybe now that the augments are counted in the bolster, they're wanting to do that if they're leveling via PvP? I honestly have no idea.
Yeah.
Now, what Red is referring to, we did touch on it previously. If you go into PvP now, into a war zone, the bolster will actually give you the about within 25% of having full augments. So, just a stat boost, as you would expect. It's kind of nice.
Okay. Karanom's GTN PSA. There's been a problem on the Harbinger when someone puts up an item that, for example, usually sells for 2,500 credits, and instead it goes up for 2,500,000 credits. There was a forum thread where Musco said this was not an exploit. In my opinion, this was the right answer for Eve, but not as much for the many casuals that are in SWTOR. Also, this is greatly exacerbated by two Bioware issues. The bug, where sometimes you need to sort in on another column, then come back to yours, the one you want under unit price, but mostly because there's no way to default to always sort it by increasing unit price when opening the GTN. Why? I try to be careful, but the GTN lag can get me impatient. If 99.9% of the people don't get tricked, it still doesn't take that many people to get tricked into paying an extra $2 million for it to be worth doing this.
Wow,
My
wouldn't you
suggestions?
fix yourself?
Being inattentive or whatever, I'm sorry, it's not. I mean, pay attention. It's your own fault. It'll
Especially-
bite you once, and then you'll be more careful.
Well, yeah.
And Karanom's suggestions: always be careful, double check everything, and keep mentioning this to BioWare in order for them to get them to address the issue. So if you see someone has something at one of these fake prices, why not put something up for 987,654,321 credits? The GTN fee is fully refunded, and someone who missorts will see yours at the top, and hopefully be less likely to buy from the trickster. In other words, he's talking about putting up a more obviously bad one, as opposed to the one that kind of looks like the real thing. That makes sense if you're willing to do that for every time you come across that and have that in your bag. Right. Lethal X Bacon wrote, SWTOR got a nice mention in the MMO section of Guinness World Records 2015.
The Gamers Edition.
Yeah, Gamers Edition, right. And it was for largest MMO voice cast. A total of 314 actors recorded lines of dialogue for 2011 Star Wars The Old Republic.
Cool.
Among the many famous voices were veteran game voice actors David Hayter, Nolan North, and Jennifer Hale, as well as stars of film and TV.
Very
I
cool.
wonder if that's the voice cast up until this point or at the time. Because
That was
obviously
at
they've
the
probably got more
time, 'cause
people, I assume.
I've seen that record before, so I believe that they have just kept it at that
Yes.
number.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, and finally, is it finally? Yeah, finally. The Wisdom of Turg. So our Operation Buddy Turg wrote in, as stat inflation continues, datacrons are worth less. I wish it was a percentage boost to stats, so that the benefit would scale as we progress. Pez answered, I agree, but it wasn't much to begin with. It's a min-maxer's nightmare. We just can't leave points out there on the table. Turg wrote back, I hardly noticed the contribution of a single augment, and that's probably worth more than all the datacrons. Not quite, but I know what he's getting at. Pez wrote back, but do we get that, but in that case, do we get that crazy Corruptor Zero kill where Tio was the last man standing and one hit away from death if we didn't have them?
There is always those edge cases, but the overall point is correct. Is it really worth it?
For 50 of every single stat, yeah, it's still an extra piece of gear.
Suppose. Yeah, well, I'm always getting them, so.
Part of a piece of gear now, but yeah.
Yeah.
At level 50, it was about a piece of gear, and
Mhm.
there haven't been that many datacrons since then. All right.
Yeah, it was 40 total for every stat at 50, and then at 55 it was the same. They just added to endurance and presence. But now with these new ones, it's jumped to 50 at every single stat. So
Yep. Right.
it's a few percent in crit. I mean, if that means anything. Or sorry, not a few percent. A noticeable difference on your crit percent. Because
Right,
it's
right. Because it
from
goes
the
towards
primary
crit.
stat. It helps.
All right. Turg also writes, Legacy main hand weapons required to cover all 16 advanced classes on both sides. Strength is 1 weapon, willpower is 2 weapons, aim 3 weapons, cunning 3 weapons. If the top-end main hand weapons are as hard and expensive to get as previous tiers, a strength lightsaber is the best bang for your buck, 1 weapon for 4 different characters. It really punishes the Legacy tech classes. To be fairer, I'd like the following: 1, adaptable Legacy weapons, and 2, no cost to remove hilts or barrels.
Yeah. And most egregious example of that is with operatives and scoundrels, for example, where scoundrels have got a blaster pistol and what's their offhand?
There's a scattergun.
Yeah, and the scattergun, whereas the operative has the knife and this blaster rifle.
And
Or the
then,
pistol.
and then a rifle. Right.
Yeah, so you cannot, because the barrels are specific to the type of weapon, not just the hand in which they're used.
Right.
Kind of screwed.
Non-force users are just shafted.
Yes, as far as legacy smuggling stuff goes, yeah.
Yes. And finally, Turg also writes, what the heck? Why do strength and aim tanks get craftable earpieces and implants with shield and defense, but then willpower gets surge plus defense? So surge actually helping crit. And Tio, I believe you wrote back on that. Did you not?
Oh, I've got no, yeah, because reasons.
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
So-
obviously that doesn't sound appropriate. So,
Yeah, either you could make a bunch of arguments. It could be an error, or it could just be the fact that this is just kind of starter gear essentially. So eventually, this will actually pretty quickly. I would hope that would get replaced. So
yeah, the highest level craftable stuff that we know about is 186 once you get to the purple of the re-engineered. So beyond that, or reverse engineered, so beyond that you're going to be using hard mode stuff and whatever.
all right, and so there is no Sarlacc Digest this week, correct? All right, then that's a show. Except
Any questions?
we have any questions, Red, from the the
Chat
folks
rooms.
in the chat room.
So Trig actually had a good point about in response to what's the problem with having us be able to solo them over and over again. The best excuse is if you could solo the flashpoints all the time, you'd kill the group finder caves.
It's true.
Yeah, okay.
That's
fair
true.
enough.
There you go.
And Dan Dune wanted us to know that as far as he's been able to notice, and actually there's a lot more information here, but biochemistry, bioengineering really has been overhauled exclusively. They don't have any more reusable items at all whatsoever, but they do have epic items now that are actually, you use them. You can share them with everybody. They're above the blues. All the med packs have HOTS on them as well as a big boost.
Yep.
Right.
Primary stats. Basically, your epic craftables in biochem are now, for consumables, something that you want to be making the purples instead of the blues because that's what you're going to be using.
For stims and medpacks.
Right. And we kind of saw this coming when 2.0 occurred. They kept the reusables, but they were subpar to the blues.
Right.
And now it looks like they phased them out and made purples relevant. Period. Again,
you
yes,
just
you're
wanna
going to
have
have to keep
purples
crafting them, but
Yeah, and you have to keep making them.
so
And you only need-
guy.
It's going to make the purple
So I was just going to...
stuff to make those expensive.
Indeed, and it means that you probably only need one biochem character. So you do not need biochem on every single raiding and PvP character.
True.
Right.
This does actually
That's one of
really
the reasons they
enhance
did
the
that.
value of diplomacy too. Again.
Indeed.
Yeah, diplomacy will be really, really good now, or should be anyway.
So Sukai wanted to know, can you still buy the old PvP gear anywhere?
No, they
Not
explicitly
really old,
said that
no.
has been removed from the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. So if you don't have that skin, it's gone for good.
Yep.
Kind of feels a bit like a waste then. They put all that effort in the past, and then bye.
They could always bring it back.
Well,
Yeah.
there's skins that they've been using for the past year and a half, 2 years. I mean,
Yeah.
This is true.
are there? Karen wants to know: are there any sites/locations for class guides yet? Dolphy, Noxic, LOL class guides for the new priorities and stat distribution choices. Have they been updated everywhere?
Haven't really checked around. I'm
Haven't
guessing
seen it.
Dolphy is pretty much up to date. Check this new tourcommunity.com. They have a bunch of class material. Your mileage may vary as far as that goes. I know Keyboard Ninja will be publishing his stuff on the official forums as per usual, certainly as far as the classes he's interested in.
Yeah, and I'll be doing a roundtable with Keyboard Ninja and Oofalong here shortly, which, as soon as I've got a firm date, we'll mention it on the show as well.
Absolutely.
Primary datacrons right now, Sonata made this point, and I really, really thought it was worth mentioning. Primary datacrons right now are like having an extra augmentation slot for whatever stat you want.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Alright.
and you could even argue that that's actually 2 augments because you get a free one of endurance as well. Everybody can use it. It's just you wouldn't choose
Yeah.
it. You just
I
get
always
it.
get, I always get the endurance ones. Yes, absolutely. All right, that's the show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our
Utini Rage.
Guild on the Empire side, do a /c join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then ask for the quiz that lets us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using OotiniCast, at OotiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. And Charlie, do you want to plug some of your stuff?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at Kranitoko, that's Kranitoko, or you can subscribe to me at youtube.com/Kranitoka Games. I try to get at least a few videos up each week. Obviously this week, whole bunch of Shadow of Revan stuff. I've got at least one video every day up until Sunday, so look out for that.
Nice.
Obviously, I've got a competition going on my very first episode of Shadow of Revan. Remember, you can win the expansion or 2,400 cartel coins. Hopefully, I'll be put in the show notes. So go on to that, subscribe to me, and post a comment in that video by Tuesday, and you might be in a chance of winning.
Very cool. All right. We record the show live every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is from Mevio's Music Alley. Check it out at music.mevio.com. That's MEVIO. And thank you to the chat room, and thank you, Charlie and Red.
Thanks for having me.
I can't wait to shave.
Beards are awesome!
All right. We'll see you next week.
All right, stay recording, guys. Thank you, everyone. And
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be back next week. Maybe a
Thank
longer
you,
show.
thank
We'll
you.
see how we go. This one went pretty long anyway. All right, stopping the broadcast.
Bye, peeps.
A good one. Happy leveling.